the Bible is on trial, the Bible on trial. And the prosecutor claimed that my interpretation of the Bible is wrong. I was sitting in a police station. I had the Bible on the table, and the police was asking, what do you mean by the word of sin and shame, and so on.
I mean, you were Home Secretary of Finland. This is the equivalent to Suella Braverman or Priti Patel being pursued by the legal system for 6 years for a tweet. It's quite shocking.
I have been very worried about the situation in Britain.
As you said before, the police didn't really feel like you committed a crime, and you said the prosecutor was determined that they were going to prosecute you. You've been acquitted a number of times. You're going through the trial at the Supreme Court. Do you think that it's politically motivated?
I'm accused of hate speech. In Finland, we have a law about agitation against minorities. And it is under the section of war crimes and crimes against humanity.
But they didn't seem to go back to when you were in power, part of the government, responsible for policing. And I'll ask you now, but did you use that power to persecute minorities? Has anyone from the US government or Trump's administration been in contact with you?
Yes, they have been in contact.
Christians in Europe are being persecuted, says the woman who's been dubbed the face of Europe's free speech crisis. It all started with a tweet, which kicked off 6 years of harassment by the authorities. Päivi Räsänen, one of Finland's top politicians and the country's former Home Secretary, was interrogated for hours by police using the Bible. They demanded to know her interpretations of scripture, a €10,000 fine and a conviction for inciting hate hanging over her if she answered incorrectly. Her crime? She'd posted a picture of a quote from the Bible and asked whether her church and its support for LGBT pride parades fit with that scripture. And in a sick twist of irony, Räsänen, at the top of Finnish politics for 30 years, has been hauled in front of the courts to be prosecuted under a law she brought in herself. A law she intended to protect the freedom and dignity of minorities, now being used by prosecutors to shut down religious thought. Alarmed, Donald Trump's government has weighed in. Marco Rubio has been in touch with Räsänen, lending his support. Local media has turned on her. The country's flagship daily supported her prosecution. The Finnish MP fears her persecution will be used to clamp down further on Christians across the West. Despite being acquitted twice, the Finnish state has been dogged in pursuing Räsänen. They've scoured everything she's said and done during a 30-year career to secure a conviction. But her record in government as Interior Minister, which is equivalent to Home Secretary in Britain, hasn't seemed to count for anything, despite her defending the rights of the LGBT community during her time in office. So this case matters. Our hate speech laws are very similar to those in Finland, and so is our Online Safety Act to the EU's Digital Services Act. It's not exactly unfamiliar to hear of prosecutions for a tweet in Britain. This case is like Suella Braverman or Priti Patel being arrested, interrogated with passages from the Bible and dragged through the courts for 6 years over an innocuous post. Is this politically motivated? There's a worrying trend appearing across Europe, where politicians who veer from the mainstream find themselves under legal attack. Could Europe's streak of lawfare come to Britain? Fresh off the back of her third and final trial, which has reached the Finnish Supreme Court, Päivi Räsänen joins me now. So Päivi, thank you so much for joining me. You have been an MP in Finland for the Christian Democrats since 1995, am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
You used to be the Minister of the Interior, so to our British audience, it's equivalent of a Home Secretary. Very well known in Finland. You were the chairwoman of your party for 11 years. But one day you tweeted something and then you were in trouble.
Yes, this whole process started over 6 years ago. It was June 2019 when I noticed that the Evangelical Lutheran Church, which is the majority church in Finland, and I'm a member of that church, an active member, and I noticed that the Evangelical Lutheran Church announced its support to Helsinki Pride event. And it was a shock to me and to many other Christians, because I thought that it was in contradiction with the foundation of the church, the Bible, what Bible teaches about sexuality and marriage. And so I was just thinking what to do, to resign the church or something else. But I thought that because the church has so important role in our society, majority of Finnish people belong to the church, and they listen what the leadership of the church says. So I was so worried that they are leading astray, for example, young people, and that's why I wanted to influence. And I took a photo from the Bible, from the book of Romans, from its first chapter, where Apostle Paul defines same-sex couples and same-sex relationships as sinful, which is in contradiction for celebrating them as a matter of pride. And I made a question to the leadership of the church that how does your support fit to the foundation of the church, the Bible? And some citizen made a criminal complaint of the Twitter update, and police started to investigate the case. And when it came into public, then there became more and more criminal complaints of my writings and interviews during the 30 years that I had been in public life in Finland. For example, a booklet, church booklet that I had written already 2004, male and female, he created them. The situation was really, I would say, absurd, because it led to investigations and interrogations, long interrogations in police station, even though that in the beginning the police didn't find any crime in my writings, but the prosecutor general of Finland ordered the police to continue the investigations. So I was sitting in a police station in Helsinki, and I had the Bible on the table, and the police was asking very theological questions about these Bible passages, that what is the meaning of the book of Romans? What is the meaning of its first chapter? What do you mean by the word of sin and shame, and so on?
So that's a strange thing. I thought that being Christian was a legal thing. I thought you were legally allowed to be a Christian. I thought that Finland was a country that was historically populated by Christians. What would be the inference there? Would it be that the scripture is wrong, or would it be that your interpretation of the scripture is hateful? What were they trying to do?
This is a very, very good question, because then when this process, when it entered to court, the prosecutor filed up charges, and I was in the district court. It was really the Bible was prosecuted. Even the public broadcasting company in Finland, when it told about this case, said that the Bible is on trial, the Bible on trial. And the prosecutor claimed that my interpretation of the Bible is wrong.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponize against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
It was like some kind of heresy trial going on in Finland, because she had a different kind of interpretation of the Bible, and yes, it was really absurd situation. And also when the police interrogated me at that time, there was a joke in social media where they were saying that there is the Bible study once again on the Bible on the police station. And you are right. We have very long roots of Christianity in Finnish society, and we have also in our constitution the freedom of religion and freedom of speech. It brought to my mind memories from those countries that were behind the Iron Curtain, Soviet time, when I heard messages that Christians are interrogated because of having Bibles and so on. And now I was in Finland in that kind of situation.
So you were accused of hate speech, weren't you? Did they say what essence of what you'd done was hate speech? Because from where I've seen the tweet, and I'll show the picture to our viewers, it was just a picture of a text in Romans, and you asked a question of your church. Just how does this support for gay pride sit with the scripture? Yeah. So, what part of that was hateful? Did they say?
Yes, the very, very good question, because I'm accused of hate speech. We have in Finland, a law about agitation against minorities. And it is under the section of war crimes and crimes against humanity, a very serious crime. And I agree that what I have said, it has not been about any hatred against any minority, because the main point of my Twitter update was what Bible says and what Bible teaches, and it is a legal book in Finland. Yes.
When they said that agitation against a minority, which is a very serious crime, and clearly they thought we should go back through your history to look at other things you've done. And you said they went back to a pamphlet you'd written in 2004. They talked about a radio interview you'd done, but they didn't seem to go back to when you were in power, part of the government, responsible for policing. And I'll ask you now, but did you use that power to persecute minorities?
Never. Never I did. And for example, when I was a Minister of Interior, I was also in charge of defending, for example, gay parades. I think that they have also the freedom of speech. They have the freedom to express their views in our society. So when I was Minister of Interior and in charge of police, the police was defending and taking care of the safety and security of all minorities. And in fact, the law about agitation against minority, it was approved when I was member of parliament, 2011.
You made it God for your own back.
Yes, and it was approved unanimously. I was also in favor of that law, and I would never imagine that it was used against me, because I had written the booklet already in 2004, many years before this law was approved in Parliament.
As you said before, the police didn't really feel like you committed a crime, and you said the prosecutor was determined that they were going to prosecute you. You've been acquitted a number of times. You're now you're going through the trial at the Supreme Court. Do you think that it's politically motivated?
At least it is ideologically motivated, and of course then also politically, because the prosecutors who have been in court accusing me of hate speech, they have very publicly expressed before this case, before my Twitter update, their views. For example, demanded that the Finnish Lutheran Church should start to marry same-sex couples. So they have taken a stand about this issue, a political stand, and church political stand. So, but of course, I have to say that the Finnish society is divided. We have those forces, for example, LGBT advocates that are very strongly demanding limitations to freedom of speech for Christians, and so I think that they have influenced to the office of the prosecutor.
That kind of leads me on to what I was going to ask you, because in the UK, I don't know if you follow what goes on here very closely, but we have our own free speech crisis.
Yes.
You know, I want to kind of put the picture to our viewers that this is the equivalent of, I mean, you were Home Secretary of Finland. This is the equivalent to Suella Braverman or Priti Patel being pursued by the legal system for 6 years for a tweet. It's quite shocking.
I have been very worried about the situation in Britain. For example, these silent prayers and police knocking to doors for social media updates, they are shocking, and we have similar kind of situations in different European countries just now going on, and that's why I think that also my case has gained a lot of attention in European countries. So I think that now we have a time in Europe that we should fight for the freedom of speech and freedom of faith also, because for example, if I would be convicted in the Supreme Court, it would be a very alarming precedent for Finland and also for all Europe. I know that the LGBT advocates, those who want to limit these freedoms, they are also following this case, and it would lead to more and more criminal complaints against, for example, Christians in Finland and also in Europe. Because I'm not
the EU Digital Services Act. If you're prosecuted under this, it changes the precedent of the law in all of the EU countries, doesn't it?
Yes, it would have really these ramifications to all European countries, because they have in most of European countries they have very similar laws about hate speech, and then it would be a precedent not only to Finland, but also to other European countries. And so I hope and I pray that I would get a positive outcome. I would get an acquittal, because then it would be a strong precedent for freedom of speech and freedom of the Bible also in Finland. Because I'm not the only one who has spoken about these issues. We have thousands and thousands of similar writings and similar interviews and sermons in churches in Finland, and they would also be in danger if I would be convicted.
Well, I would say, if I bring it back to Britain a little bit, as obviously we've had this free speech crisis that we seem to be locking up more than anyone else. But the other side of it there's been a very big backlash from the press about some of these arrests, and sometimes the police back down. So I wondered, what's the political and media reaction been to your case in Finland? Have you had a lot of support, or are there sections of the political sphere in Finland that support the action that the state's taking against you?
Yes, the Finnish society is divided in this question, and also our church is divided. The leadership of church has been very silent. They have not defended my right to freedom of faith, for example, during this process.
Why do you think that is?
It is. Of course, it is because I have criticized just them. I have criticized the bishops, and now they have said only that it is good that now the court is investigating my speeches and making these decisions. But the media, the press in Finland, the main media's main newspaper in Finland has, in its editorial, they have taken a stand against me and against my freedoms. But I have seen also a lot of support in Parliament, and I have got many prominent persons in Finland have taken a stand for my freedom. And
the newspaper, you say, has taken a stance against you. Do they say why?
They think that it is important to convict possible hate speech, and they think that it is important to defend the constitutional rights of these minorities. So
you're asking a question of your church about
yes,
issues to do with the
yes.
church, nothing
And
actually to do
in
with
fact,
political.
I have not spoken any hateful speech against any minorities. I have, for example, in my booklet, I have said that I think that all people are equal. We all are created as image of God. We all are sinners. We all are in need of grace that we have in Jesus Christ and his death, and so I definitely I have defended the human rights of all people.
So you've obviously been acquitted twice, I believe, and now this is your third and final trial. How do you feel about how that's going to go? And if you do lose, what do you think that means for Finland? And if you win, what do you think the reaction of your opponents will be?
During this process, I have felt all the time that it is in God's hands. And I have confidence to God in this process. Whatever are the consequences and whatever is the outcome from the process, I still trust on God. And that this process has a purpose. I have felt that it has been my duty to defend these foundational rights, freedom of speech and freedom of faith, and also these biblical truths. I'm so thankful that I have got acquittals from these lower courts, and I feel quite confident that I could get also acquittal from the Supreme Court. But I can't be sure, because we have had cases in our court system where there have been acquittals from lower courts, and then the Supreme Court has given a conviction. So anything can happen, but if I would win the case, then it would be a very strong precedent for freedom of speech in Finland, and it would strengthen these freedoms, not only to Christians, but to all people, to express their deeply held beliefs and to express their convictions. But if I would lose this case, I would say even that it would start a time of persecution of Christians, because then many people would be afraid to express their views and to express their deeply held beliefs, and also, for example, to cite the Bible in social media updates.
And I think it's really important sometimes, because a lot of these laws, and the one you're being prosecuted under, is they're saying that you're agitating against a minority. So I think let's speak about the minority here. How have the LGBT community reacted? Are they unified in wanting you condemned, or actually have some of them come out and said, "Not in my name, I believe that you're free to follow your religion"?
Yes, absolutely. There have been many of those people from LGBT minorities who have supported also publicly my freedom of speech, even though that they say that they disagree with me. But they say that I should have these freedoms. Also, I have people who have this LGBT background who also agree with me with these issues, who are Christians by their faith, and even though that they have homosexual feelings, they say that they agree with me. So it is not. There are divisions in that minority.
And finally, I know the US State Department has expressed concern over your case. We've seen a lot of Donald Trump speaking about the situation with free speech here in Britain. Has anyone from the US government or Trump's administration been in contact with you?
Yes, they have been in contact with me. For example, from the embassy that is in Finland, they have come 2 times to Parliament to discuss with me, and also some people have visited from the Congress of US and wanted to hear more about this case. And of course, I'm also very grateful that in 2022, 5 senators from US Senate gave a very strong support to me. And Senator Marco Rubio was among these, and now he is the foreign minister of US. So they have given support, and I'm very thankful for that.
Excellent. And so we should expect to hear the outcome of your final trial next spring in 2026. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes, I hope so.
Okay, well, thank you so much.